I mean, some people online were saying, why didn't they test out the food supply for quality assurance in the first place? Then other people shot back saying, that's what they're doing with students.
Because it won't affect our workforce.
Yeah.
If you send it to companies, people get sick, our productivity goes down.
Yeah.
But this one, students, is okay. And if the old people, they're not working. So I'm 5 months into fatherhood. And let's just say it's been a hell of a ride. Sleep deprivation, constant feelings of helplessness, never-ending to-do lists. I could go on and on. But that's why I've not had many chances to talk about it on Yalabat. So in a recent episode done in partnership with gov.sg, we went deep into the topic of fatherhood. We brought Yalabat back on the streets, recording on the grassy patch at Crawford Heights, followed by a trishaw ride along the Kallang River. We talked about the chaos of parenting, the little wins like flexible work schedules, and the big dreams that all young parents share, like more affordable housing and more time for families. And we even bumped into some otters along the way. So if you're a parent, or if you're thinking about becoming one, or if you're just here for funny stories about how we've fumbled through fatherhood, I think you'll enjoy the episode. Check out episode 619 on Spotify and YouTube. And now, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
What a emphatic thumbs up, Terence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're at the end of a very, very, very busy week now. The number of the big news items early in the week, and pumping out those episodes, and then now, back a bit more back to normal, contained, interesting stories nonetheless, but not like far-reaching in terms of consequence, right?
But I mean, sometimes when there's really nothing of value to talk about, this week felt like it's the complete opposite,
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting things to talk
But it
about.
Felt like we were studying for exam, basically.
Yeah, a lot of reading, a lot of
listening.
And I think also a couple of people were pointing out, how come you guys are posting the episodes on Reddit and everything, right? And I think, Tristan also jumped in to clearly add that he's still part of the team. It's just that he's on a paid holiday right now, right?
Yeah.
Sponsored by the SAF, right?
For 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks, so Terence and I are splitting up the post-production.
Yeah, holding the fort.
Yeah. While Tristan is, helping to defend our nation, prepare to defend our nation.
Correct.
For 2 weeks.
Yep.
So until the end of next week, you're still going to see Terence and I posting stuff on Reddit or somewhere. But it was a very astute observation by someone.
Yeah. I mean, we have fans. We have fans who are very active on the subreddit, if you haven't already joined.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of fans, just to follow up on something we mentioned a few episodes ago, which some people already messaged about, it is the next live show we're doing, which is confirmed happening on Thursday, March 6th, 2025.
Yeah.
So it'll be at the same venue, 27 Ansiang, right? And it'll be right after Parliament. So we are probably going to be talking about whatever unfolded there. Yeah. And now we can actually say when the tickets are going to go live.
Yeah.
Right. So previously, I think we did it on an afternoon during the week, but some people who came for our last show said, it was a bit hard because they were at work and they had to, make sure at 3 p.m. they're free. So this time, we are going to release it at 9 p.m. next Tuesday, 25th February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at 9 p.m., 25th February, what was it? 25th February, Tuesday, 9 p.m. 9
p.m.
Terence,
okay.
9 p.m. Terence.
9 p.m. That's right.
9 p.m. So, I mean, we will put the link everywhere on Telegram, on social media. So just stay tuned for that. And then, there'll be limited seats as always.
Yeah.
So make sure you get your tickets.
Yeah. What are we going to be doing during the live show?
I mean, it'll be, what do you mean what are you going to be doing?
As in, the last time was an end of year kind of thing, right?
Yeah, correct.
But this time, I think we plan to do it slightly differently, right?
Yeah, I mean, more like what we do on a regular podcast. Because again, we heard from some people who came from the show saying, I mean, those kind of recaps are nice, but they want to hear about the more current stuff.
Yeah.
So March 6th, it is going to be right after Parliament. Chances are there'll be some interesting stuff being discussed there, and we'll probably have our laptops on stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll be all the tabs open and you can come and see us up close. And of course, before and after that, we can talk about stuff that won't actually go on the podcast. So that's where you get your privilege of being part of the community there. Lah.
Yeah, and this is all part of our efforts to bring Yalabat on the ground, right?
Yeah, on the ground.
To go out there and meet you guys and show that, Yalabat. I think actually it's fun when people meet each other. I think the last time, a lot of people tell me they were very impressed that quantum physics PhD was a listener and was so participatory in the whole thing, right?
Because he came up during the fan segment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we do have fan segments there.
Yeah.
And actually, I was thinking about that guy yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Because I don't know whether you saw news that Microsoft released their first quantum computing chip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's literally like the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's 20 years of research going into that.
Okay.
And it's going to set the groundwork for actual quantum computing to become more accessible.
I guess the question is, when is it going to be on the iPhone?
That one I don't know. I mean, it's Microsoft.
Yeah.
So don't know how long that will take.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Tuesday, 9 p.m. We'll share the link on every social media platform or channel that you have subscribed to. Hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, and if you just want to make sure you don't miss out on whatever we're announcing also, make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. Like, share, follow, subscribe to this podcast as well. So to tell the algorithm that you want to keep receiving more of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
And if you want to work with us.
Oh, yes, correct. If you want to work with us, reach out to us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or even visit ministryoffunny.com to drop us a message. Yeah. If you go to ministryoffunny.com, you can actually see some photos from our previous live events as well as our social media.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, man.
Cool, man. All right.
Cool. But yeah, this week, back to a lot of discussions about more heartland material, right?
Heartland.
About stuff that people eat, hawker centers, and all that, right?
Yeah.
But this first one is quite a unfortunate thing that happened on Total Defense during the whole Total Defense Day period. That has made people question whether Singapore is really prepared in terms of total defense, right?
Yeah. It was something that was, I think, published last week, 15 February. That as part of this year's exercise SG Ready, which was something I was not even aware was happening. It's part of like the total defense campaign and all. About 150,000 ready-to-eat meals for emergency food supply were going to be distributed to schools and active aging centers. So basically, this is like a level up on army combat rations.
Yeah.
For anyone who hasn't been to army, the moment you mention combat rations to someone who has been to army, there's a visceral kind of like that comes out because it's not the tastiest of meals.
Yeah.
But this is a series of ready-to-eat meals prepared by the same caterer, but it's meant to be a lot tastier, and apparently it's meant to last up to 8 months in a place that without refrigeration.
Yeah.
As long as it's stored in like a place away from sunlight.
Yeah.
And shelf life of 8 months though. And the meals are like biryani, pasta, sweet spicy tomato fish with basmati rice.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive lah. So when this news came out, I remember reading about it. I was like, oh shit, that's a lot of meals, 150,000. But just a few days later, so yesterday, 20th February, there was news that a total of 20 students from SOTA actually fell sick from eating the meals, which were distributed to their schools. That has caused a lot of chatter online. A lot of statements have been made. But you must have heard about the announcement when it first came up, right? That this was all going to be distributed.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I mean, I know Total Defense Day was last weekend. Everyone heard the siren going off at 6:20 on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
These kind of exercises in school and all that are very much part of what they do every year, right? Like there's always all these things. This one is quite interesting but the interesting thing is I never knew the existence of these RTE meals, ready to eat meals. And it sounds quite enticing because you look at the packaging and all, it reminds me of those microwave meals you find at 7-Eleven, right? And I don't know, but I when every time I eat one of those, it's like a burst of salt and MSG and everything.
Right? Sometimes it's good.
It's damn good. It will really put a smile on your face for an hour or two. And then after that, how you feel after that it depends on your body, right?
Yeah, true. You know, it's almost like eating instant noodles. You know that this is not good for you.
Yeah.
But you just need the kick.
Yeah. So I can imagine if I was in school and this was being distributed to me, I'd be pretty excited, man, to eat it. Yeah.
You would be,
Yeah, I would be. It's different. I mean, the packaging is very different from army combat rations also.
Oh,
right?
yeah, true. It really looks like one of those 7-Eleven things.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
there's like a plastic case and something you can look through.
Yeah.
Which is actually part of the reason why the shelf life is not as long as army combat rations. No?
Maybe, yeah.
Sunlight. No, it is.
Oh, sunlight. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So army combat rations can last for like 24 months, 36 months because it's completely sealed.
Yeah, it's sealed.
But this one, light can go in. So
but you mean that you don't find it enticing to eat these?
As a student?
Meals? Yeah.
I mean, if I was a student now, right? Like, we're in a world of Instagram and shit where you see so much online.
Yeah.
I think this would have been a lot more enticing last time. Now if I see this, right, I'm like, why would this be enticing to eat? The only thing is, okay, I can save money that I was going to spend on a meal that I can go and buy bubble tea or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Right?
So you're saying it's enticing because of the cost savings, not because of the taste.
Cost savings. Taste-wise, maybe not so much. But at least it's like something
free
interesting.
Food,
it's free food. Yeah, it's free
okay,
food.
Then that one I will agree. As a student, you can save money to indulge in something else. But I thought you said, you're like, wow, this one damn shook. Hey, bro, you go try the basmati rice.
But that also, there's something to when you go to school and then suddenly there's some new thing distributed to everyone and you get to try it.
Yeah.
There's something very fun there as a student also, right?
I guess.
I say this only looking at my own, kid in preschool and everything. Every time you bring something new, every time someone brings something new to school, there's this excitement about it, right? Whether
That's
it's a new
because
toy
as a
or what.
4-year-old boy, he can't go outside and get his own toys, right?
True. But I'm just saying that there is probably a bit of buzz, right? I don't know about you, but maybe you were a cynical little twat back then in school, right? But I was much more. I participated in all these things full of fervor. I did the Great Singapore workout and everything, and all that. Do you
It's
do
like
it?
a cynical twat.
Yeah. Were you just laughing and mocking people who were doing it,
I think definitely I was like, son, this is damn lame.
Mocking. Yeah. I can see it. That's why the difference. Yeah.
So maybe when I was in Sec 1 and you were Sec 3, doing the Great Singapore workout, I was like a fucking idiot.
Secondary school, I don't think there was already. I think it was primary school.
Primary school.
I took it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I look forward to. But not to say that I was cool. I was not. I was not part of the cool crowd.
Just cynical.
Yeah, I was confused.
Okay.
So this one, I mean, because there was one article about one of the students who got sick. I think she said she ate the meal twice.
Yeah.
Once for lunch and once for dinner.
My point exactly. She enjoyed it so much.
So she enjoyed it so much. But I think as a student, it's probably more, okay, if you can save money, why not?
Yeah.
That's my assumption. Because on Reddit, you did see some people saying that it did not taste good. They said they did not taste good. And the list of ingredients apparently is quite long. There was a photo they shared on Imgur.
Yeah.
However you pronounce that. But why do you think the fact that these 20 students that got sick, right, is that big a deal? I mean, given how many thousand, 150,000.
Yeah.
Not all have been given, but I think about 100,000 have been given. 20 students, that's less than 0.2%.
Correct. It's true, but you must think about why these things were distributed in the first place. They were distributed as part of a total defense exercise.
Yeah.
To simulate, to do a simulation of power supply disruptions or food or water disruptions, which result from prolonged power outage. So if you're doing exercise SG ready to show that your country is ready for these kind of things, but it turns out that the ready-to-eat meals that you're distributing around can cause more disease and more problems in the community. It's a big, there's a lot of egg on your face, right? It's kind of embarrassing, right? Like, what happened to our food defense? If our food supply is already at its source before it's even open, it's already tainted, right? Then it makes us look kind of silly, right?
But maybe this is like the next level 4D chess by SETS and like the MINDEF. It's saying in war, Terrence, what happens?
Yeah.
People will get sick. We can do all we can. It is how we treat the sick ones that matters. So even the part of dealing with the 20 sick people, maybe it's part of the exercise, Terence.
Possibly. And I mean, I think they actually go a step further than just like, oh, here's some free food. This you can eat it. If I'm not wrong, I think the school canteens, they actually maybe even mandated that they will be closed because there was a message that was sent to parents via MOE communications portal. They said because they were stopping the distribution of these RTE things, right? They were encouraging students to bring their own food for recess, and a few school canteen stalls will be open as well. So maybe there's a mandate in the school that canteen stalls will not be open that day, and everyone will eat this RTE meals together, right?
I mean, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So students don't really have a choice, but now they have to go and settle their own food and, go and badger their parents to bring their own food and all. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the exercise again, when you have to go and rely on someone else to bring food for you. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I think it's quite a lot of egg on the face. Plus the fact that, at the end of the day, it wasn't from some small-time caterer, some small mom-and-pop caterer that did this, right? It's from SATS, which also supplies catering and food for
Singapore Airlines.
Yeah. So it tells you, it makes you like, hey, if the premier catering service in Singapore, the quality assurance isn't there, then what does it say about everything that we do for Singapore Airlines and the rest of the world and tourists and everything, right? So that's why I think it's a lot of people are talking about this and quite shocked that this has happened.
Yeah, I mean, it confirmed within SATS, right? Wow, there's a shitstorm like crazy because
you think so?
Yeah.
Why?
I think so. I mean, because not to say that last time when I was at Singapore Airlines, I ever worked closely with SATS and all.
Sure.
I did go to try and taste the food once or twice.
Yeah.
But I know safety and hygiene is super important there.
Yeah.
And in this case, if you think about it, even commercially, SATS is a very successful company commercially.
Yeah.
Right? And these sort of things, they're not doing it out of goodwill of their heart, right? If they secure this, it's a huge ass contract. You know? But to have this thing goes, this little taint, right? This little stain, I think it is a huge thing for them because also they supply Singapore Airlines. And you can imagine at Singapore Airlines, they were like, oh shit, then what are these? You say this is you made for SAF. Even SAF will be like, even if a few people get sick, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure there's a huge shitstorm going on inside there.
Okay.
You don't think so?
No, I'm not arguing that it's very serious internally.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to parse out is, do you think the response reflects that they are taking it very seriously as a shitstorm?
Doesn't feel like it.
Exactly, yeah. So that's my thing. I think I'm judging it more on how they have responded or the things that they've done since.
But what about that?
The fact is that what is happening is that 100,000 meals have been delivered to more than 200 locations. They've identified that 1,475 meals were delivered to SOTA, so they're collecting back the unconsumed meals, and they will also replace the ready-to-eat meals produced on the same batch.
that would be weird.
Yeah, so to me, it's like when something like this happens on such a scale, I would consider maybe scrapping this entire run, right? Rather than trying to isolate it to a batch only, right? Because there's probably a lot that have been distributed that haven't even been consumed yet, right? And you're distributing it to schools, to active aging centers. It means old people. People who might immunity might not be the best, right? So you are taking a risk in asking them to consume these meals, when you already know that there's a 1% chance that some people get very severe food poisoning, right?
Yeah, and it's true because there was this one stat in the article also, right? I think they said the number of students that got sick is less than 1% of the number of students at SOTA that consumed it,
Yeah.
And when I look at that stat, I'm like, okay, it's factually true, but feels is that stat really that relevant now? The fact is, And especially because this is going to be sent to aging centers, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Where there are old people.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if something happens? So then what in your mind based on, I mean, we have seen kind of like, people get sick from food service providers and all. What would be something that you think would indicate that, oh shit, they're taking this fucking seriously?
I mean, probably just contemplating whether these 100,000 meals should all be recalled, right? I think that anytime there's any food safety concerns, and especially if it's not for like, you're not like, you're essentially almost like forcing people to be part of this exercise, right? Like I mentioned where, they say, oh, some canteen stores will be open. So probably there might have been a directive to close canteen stores that day to simulate the power outage, right? So if you're forcing people and not giving them much option about consuming these meals, then that's where I think they need to make sure that 100,000 is tested for quality assurance again, right? And not just assuming that it's just one bad batch that caused it, and just saying, oh, it's not a big deal because it's less than 1%, right?
Yeah, but I mean, on the SFA Singapore Food Agency post, they did say they will pause the Food Resilience Preparedness Program until investigations on the SOTA cases are concluded.
Yeah.
So in some way, they are pausing it.
Okay, pausing it. Yeah.
Right.
But I guess maybe the statement that talking about just replacing the ready-to-eat meals from the same batch. That's why I'm like, they're really ring fencing only that batch.
Yeah, I mean, if you read the statement, it is a bit like, okay, so generally the gist is the SFA together with MOE Agency for Integrated Care and SETS will pause the program, are investigating it. The students had consumed it during the program. As of 19 Feb, 20 students were reported to have developed gastroenteritis symptoms. None were hospitalized.
Yeah.
SOTA's collecting back the RTA meals. SAF and MOE are working with venues to put in place further precautionary measures. Includes replacing RTA meals. Based on preliminary finding, this is an isolated case and they will continue to work. And then the last part, there's an asterisk. This is about 1% total of the total number of students at SOTA who consume the RTA meals.
Yeah.
If I would read that right, I'd be like, hey, what kind of shit-ass statement is this?
Yeah.
Because rightly so, some people commented in the comment section that we have seen so many articles where catering companies, hawker centers, people fall sick, right?
Yeah.
Wow, immediately they are vilified and crucified in public.
Yeah.
Their whole business has to stop. They are fined.
Yeah.
But in this case, for an exercise like this, given that you are giving it to kids and old people, this statement doesn't cut it at all.
Yeah. If you feel like they're downplaying the fact that, like people fell sick by saying that it's isolated, it's only 1%. Okay, they didn't say only, but like you said, they purposely put an asterisk at the end. This is about 1% of the total number of students at SOTA who consumed RT meals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is giving the whole PTSD about the whole NRIC issue kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of yes, it's a problem, but don't panic.
Yeah. It's only a small amount of people.
It's a small amount.
Yeah.
It was, curtailed very quickly.
Yeah.
And just now when I made a joke about how maybe this is part of the exercise for people to fall sick, just like how people fall sick during war.
Yeah.
I can almost imagine a press conference being held.
Yeah.
And they said, yes, there were only 20 that were laced with stuff.
Yeah.
To test. And of course, I can't imagine them saying that. But yeah, this statement, right, it just feels like, what the fuck is this? That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether there's any other statement, but it is the SFA that's leading this.
Yeah, correct. And again, because it is part of this exercise, total defense exercise, right? I think it needs to go beyond just it's an isolated incident, small number. This is a demonstration of the resilience of the Singapore population. And if we can't even get this right in terms of making sure there's really almost zero cases of food poisoning from eating this stuff, then it really is quite embarrassing, right?
Oh, so you're saying that because it is this, as opposed to let's say an NDP thing, or let's say even at my wedding, right?
Yeah.
If there are a few people being sick, who fell sick,
yeah,
and I come out and say, okay, this is just 1% of the people here.
Yeah.
But it's my wedding okay, food safety really it wasn't the priority.
Yeah.
We're saying in this case, because you want to show that we have everything in the most controlled situation for a campaign that is supposed to talk about our food safety.
Exactly.
It's different. La.
Yeah. And when I go to your wedding or I go and eat some buffet or what, I choose, right? I chose to be there. I chose to eat that. This one, the people, like what we speculate, that they don't actually have the choice, right?
Yeah.
It's part of this exercise in their school program that they have to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, double whammy, right?
Yeah, and that's why that statement it really feels like doesn't cut it. Because imagine you got sick at my wedding. I tell you, Terence, my wife and I are investigating.
Yeah.
But you are the only one who got sick.
Yeah.
So it's only about 1% of the people who came.
Yeah.
But we will do our best to ensure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
How you feel?
I could assume that it's probably me, right? It's really one person. But 20 people, in school and everything, it's quite clear that it's not just
maybe
me,
all
right?
20 of them went for some mala thing before.
Okay lah. Then if that investigation brings that out, then okay lah.
The night before, 20 of them met for some mala hot pot.
Yeah, then we can't say anything lah.
Can't say
right?
anything.
Yeah. But yeah lah. It's just I feel like these statements just have the air of like downplaying the severity of it and not a good look lah. That's for sure lah. Right?
Yeah. Because even if I were to just Google caterer suspended Singapore, right?
Yeah.
The articles that come out are like let's see. Stamford Catering Services suspended after 51 people fall ill with gastroenteritis. Of course, those are like 52 out of a much smaller number of people. So the percentage of people who fall sick was a lot higher lah. But again, going back to what you said, for an exercise that's meant to show how we have everything like up to speed and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the statement, I mean, even from, like sometimes I always used to think like, but do we need to hear from the leader of the head of the organization? But I think sometimes that does
warrants,
lend weight.
Yeah.
Right?
It warrants that you're taking it seriously, right?
Yeah, as opposed to just this Facebook post that even an intern could have crafted. Then it feels like, what? Really, that's it. And by the end of this week, next week, people will forget about this.
So my understanding is that the pausing of the whole program was an update to this statement. So it wasn't even originally part of the statement, right?
Oh, that's why there's that thing about the replacement lah.
Yeah.
Because it felt like if you're pausing it, what
are you replacing? Yeah, exactly.
So they updated.
I guess just the way it's formatted on this post,
correct.
There's a update preamble at the start. SAF together with MOE will pause the food resilience program.
Yeah.
And then after that is the actual statement as it was before lah. But yeah, so I mean, some people online were saying, why didn't they test out test out the food supply for quality assurance in the first place? Then other people shot back saying, that's what they're doing with students.
Because it won't affect our workforce.
Yeah.
If you send it to companies, people get sick, our productivity goes down.
Yeah.
But this one, students, is okay. And if the old people, they're not working.
Correct.
So it's okay. Yeah. They can fall sick.
But not to make light of students falling sick, right? I think it sucks to get food poisoning, especially in a situation where you didn't even ask to eat these things.
But I mean, I would still say, right, that given the scale of it, 20 people falling sick, yes, it's very unfortunate. But like, it just feels like the way they are communicating it rubs people the wrong way. I think a lot of people will actually acknowledge that, yes, it is a tiny percentage.
Yeah.
But if you're making it kind of something as a point to show that you didn't fuck up that badly, then it's like, no lah. Like, it's almost like you should take the approach that, okay, this is a big screw up, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that percentage thing, you don't even need to mention it. I think people can work it out in their head.
Yeah. And the suspensions are right. People say that all these smaller caterers, small restaurants, they get suspended for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or, whatever, a month.
Their business stops.
Business stops.
Yeah.
Will this happen to SETS? That's a big question, right? And I mean, if it cannot, because SETS is very big and, or you can isolate, you really can do your CSI and really isolate where the contamination happened. Then show it, right?
Yeah,
but right now, we don't have the information, right?
Exactly.
But I think the main thing is that nobody feels like, maybe people don't really feel like they're taking it that seriously, right?
And maybe it's because, like, in their mind, like, do people really care about this? Like, why go through to come up with this infographic of which parts of the SETS catering center is being ring-fenced to make sure that, that is a red zone and stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe people don't really care.
Are you asking why care about this? People don't really care. No, but I think when crisis happens like that, the general PR guideline is you overshare rather than give whatever you think people care about, right?
Yeah.
I rather you overshare and then people have more information to deal with than statements like, this is only 1% isolated incident, no other incidents reported.
Yeah.
You don't wait for incidents to happen. You have to actively go and make sure that take precautions, right?
Yeah, and I think it's particularly because of the context of this program.
Yeah.
It is meant to show that. Then can you imagine, I don't know if you've seen, there's this increasing probability that an asteroid is going to hit Earth.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It was 1%, and then now 3%. Can you imagine if, of course, we hope nothing happens, but if we ever actually need to have these meals, right, you think people will be so willingly to be like, they're like, hey, don't care or not? Never mind, maybe I tahan a bit more. And I don't eat. And that's not good, right?
No.
It doesn't make you feel assured,
I mean, just thinking about yourself as a parent and everything, right? If you know that this thing happened to these other students at some school, and then you drop your kid off at school and then they tell you today we're going to eat like these
RTEs,
ready-to-eat meals. If you're like, okay, maybe just starve for the rest of the day and then come home and eat a bigger lunch or something, right?
Yeah.
Why even take the gamble?
Yeah. Because now as a parent, it's almost like, even for selfish reasons, you're going to have to deal with the sick kid.
Yeah, you have to deal with it. Even if it's a very mild case of it, you still got to deal with it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, this comment, it's
so I
annoying
think
as shit, yeah.
Yeah, they need to do more to show that they're taking it very seriously.
Oh, comms.
Yeah. But yeah, oversharing, that's a very important thing when crisis happens, right? But yeah, there is another little conflict that has come up between someone in the F&B business and with the governing agency, right? The NEA.
Yeah.
That has gone public, and a lot of people are discussing it. It has gone viral, right? A lot of information about it going coming from both sides, right?
Yeah.
But people are very hotly debating this issue. And what is this?
It is a particular Facebook post that was put up by a gentleman called Nurman Mubarak, who is one of the co-owners of Nasi Lemak Ayam Taliwang, which is a chain of Nasi Lemak stalls across. He has 20 stalls. He and his wife co-own the business, I believe. They have 20 stalls around Singapore.
Yeah.
But this particular Facebook post was of his wife, who is pregnant at 40 weeks, standing at one of their stalls.
Yeah.
And the caption basically said that she is being forced by him because NEA, the National Environment Agency, gave them a warning.
Gave her a warning.
Gave her a warning, along with 7 other hawker stall holders in that same hawker center. So basically, the warning was about her violating their tenancy agreement by not being in the stall physically. And apparently, NEA requirements mandate that either the owner be there or an appointed nominee be there.
For 4 hours.
For 4 hours, yeah. So, but apparently, when they first reached out to her over WhatsApp, she responded, but she didn't hear back. And then later on, they got a warning over email.
Yeah.
So now he is taking photos of his very pregnant wife standing at the stall and tagging NEA in a Facebook post. So a lot of, his statement goes on to say certain things that, let me read verbatim, that, they started, since 2017, we have managed the stall. For the first 4 years, we worked daily and tirelessly. Now that we are more comfortable, we use SOPs and systems and softwares. We are being told we need to physically handle the stall again. Then he said, if this is how they treat hawkers who just only tasted a little breathing space and success in creating a system to enable more time for ourselves, I highly discourage Singaporeans or PRs to be hawkers. They want you to remain in the stall until you give up. If you think of expanding or be a successful hawker, start somewhere else. Public hawkers are not meant for you to grow and remain successful.
Yeah.
I am a 3rd generation hawker and the buck stops with me.
Yeah.
So, that's the gist of it. And of course, there have been statements from NEA. There have been statements from the Yishun Park Hawker Centre as well, which is where the stall was.
Yeah.
But what made you want to talk about this, Terence?
It's very hotly debated, right? I think he has his supporters for sure, who's saying that we're hearing the refrains of NEA being very out of touch with what hawkers need and everything, right? And I'm interesting that he's a third generation hawker, so because we have spoken to a third generation hawker here on the podcast before, and I think one thing I always try to remember after having spoken to Fei Sai from Coffee Break, right, was that hawkers also they're not a one size fit all. When you talk about hawkers, it's not a monolith either, right? Some hawkers are very happy to be a mom and pop kind of store, like a retirement kind of business and all that. Then there are other hawkers that are much more ambitious, right? They want to, like Fei Sai and her siblings. They want to expand. They have big plans. They want to be in CBD and Holland Village area to cater to white collar workers, and they've done their research, right? They put the numbers together and all that. So there's a wide range, a wide spectrum of what kind of hawkers are out there, right? So whatever people's perception is of how a hawker should or must think about their business and all that kind of thing, I think that's where there's something for everyone to remember as they're even contemplating this issue, right? Like where does this Nasi Lemak Ayam Taliwang, where on the spectrum does it stand, right? And that's why it's interesting to read what his supporters are saying and how he's responding to NEA's statement and things like that as well. But yeah, that's on my side. For you, like, what made you feel like this was an interesting topic to talk about?
I mean, my first thought was like, I think generally myself, and I think most people, yourself, most Singaporeans, I would say that whenever we hear these sort of like kerfuffles and all, right, my first thought is like, oh, the hawker getting screwed.
The
hawker getting screwed. What is the authorities doing now? But the more I read about this, the more I feel like, okay, either we don't have a lot of info, either it is purely a he says, she says thing. But like, if his post is trying to complain against the tenancy agreement requiring either the stall owner or an appointed nominee to be physically present, then I feel it's a bit unfair.
Unfair to who?
The complaint. The complaint that it's unfair.
Okay.
Because, I mean, his argument, if I were to summarize, is that, okay, they have optimized, they got economies of scale across 20 stalls.
Yeah.
They have SOPs and procedures. So the stall owner doesn't need to be there because she can give instructions by not being there, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, part of the NEA and NEA's response was that the hawker stalls provide an opportunity for Singaporeans to run their own small business. We require stallholders to personally operate their stalls. This prevents stall subletting, which would drive up rental prices and food prices to the detriment of Singaporeans. I mean, that kind of like, is this for the betterment of Singaporeans is a bit annoying. But you can even understand, right, why they need to make sure that either the stall owner or an appointed nominee is there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just open a stall and you put you just sublet it to someone else. And then because, from speaking to Fei Sai and looking at how many hawkers actually can make it sustainable, assuming even if you get a slim profit margin a month, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have to be there and you just sublet it to someone to operate, you can make it a business.
Or franchise, or sell to, or have a franchisee operate it, right?
Yeah. And at first I thought, but what's the difference between just hiring an employee to work at your stall? But the difference is if you get a tenancy for a stall and you sublet it to another stall, you don't even need to have culinary experience. You just need to have capital to rent it, and then you rent it out to another hawker. But your name is on the tenancy line. I think that is a very dangerous practice. And I can understand why there is this requirement. So if he's arguing just based on that, I mean, even he says it states owners must personally manage the stall, which is rightly so, but he doesn't believe that they need to be physically present. So that's why I feel like, hard to agree with that.
I mean, the one thing, like you, right, I always, every time we tend to default to certain schemas of thinking, and the initial thing is always like, hawker's getting screwed over, right?
Yeah.
And I say, wow. Then he posts a picture of his very pregnant wife standing and sort of just doing nothing at the stall. Right? Not doing nothing, but she just sort of staring blankly into the distance or standing at the stall.
Yeah.
And he took a photo of her and then he literally captioned it, "Today I forced my wife to stand in our founding store." And so I was like, okay, I mean, a very, very emotive post, right?
You mean you don't force your wife on a daily basis to do this?
Especially a pregnant wife, right? So I was like, okay, I mean, when I see this kind of things, I also do ask, okay, what am I seeing? And I mean, very clearly, he himself said that he's sort of forcing his wife to stand there so he can take a photo of her like that, right? And that's where I get a little bit, are we being, emotionally manipulated to feel a certain way or to feel bad for this person who's complaining? Because it's not a photo of him, right? It's a photo of his wife whose name is on the store, right? But his name is not on the store. So that's why I just felt, okay, I understand his frustration with this and all, but also, like, was it necessary to go so far to force your wife to stand there and take photo like that, right? As opposed to trying to settle this issue with the NEA itself, right? And instead of going public and putting a very emotive picture there. But you were saying earlier, like, okay, that you think it's dangerous that hawkers are able to sublet their store outs and everything, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the one thing that I was a bit like struggling with when I was reading about this whole thing was that he has, they as a family, or they have 20 outlets around Singapore. And not all at hawker centres, from what I understand. I believe some at hawker centres and some, even in MBS. I think MBS, they have an outlet as well. The Marina Bay Sands, I think the food court. How is one hawker or, even a couple, a husband and wife team or whatever, how are they able to be physically present at multiple hawker centres if they have more than one hawker centre outlet?
But I mean, from what I understand is the owner or appointed nominee of that stall has to be physically present.
Okay.
Which makes me think that they might own the brand, but they're not the owner tied to that stall. Because in some way, he is the co-owner of the business, right?
Yeah.
But that stall, his name is not listed. It's his wife is the owner of that stall.
Yeah.
So I think they probably decouple that, okay, this is the brand, but they're looking at individual stalls. So that is how I understand it can be done.
So to be clear, he's not franchising out his business. He's operating all these stores also, these 20 outlets.
I mean,
it's not a franchise model.
I don't know what the intricacies are between franchise model. Okay, because franchise model, there's another business owner, but it might be you might have co-ownership with them.
Okay. So co-owners operating a store together.
But as long as one of the owners.
So one of the owners has to be there.
I think so. So I think that's how he does it.
That's possible.
So then I can imagine that, that's how he makes it work. And I mean, even like speaking to FaceEye, right? They got a lease for another outlet, another hawker store, right?
Yeah.
And you do see certain hawker stalls where they open up, and I've even seen articles written about people who have scaled up. I think there was one Korean food that has scaled up across hawker stalls, and they're always seen as like, wow, this is quite aspirational.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
As long as you abide by the fact that, okay, you or one of your co-owners is still operating that stall. And the difference between subletting, I guess, is because there's this whole movement online about buying boring businesses. Have you heard that movement?
No.
Like you buy a laundromat.
Okay.
It's a boring business. Or you buy a gas station. It's a boring business, but you don't even need to understand laundromats. You buy a business over a mom and pop and all, and you just let it run and you take the profits. Yeah, so I can imagine people doing it to hawker stalls, which is where it's dangerous, because then you are profiting a small business owner as opposed to a hawker.
Yeah. So, I mean, but do you think that what his argument is that you can be running a store remotely also, right? Not necessarily physically being there. You can be giving instructions to people remotely over the phone, WhatsApp, whatever. Why do you need the person to physically stand at the store? Or not stand up, but just physically be at the store?
So that one I think is a bit more debatable. It's the same argument, right, between a remote worker and office worker.
Yeah, because people are saying, then how would the person ever, take a break or, go for holidays and things like that if one of the co-owners always needs to be there? Let's say the husband and wife, right? how do they do it? They can't possibly get their staff to run the store, meh? That wasn't that very limiting to them as a business, right? So do you think there's validity to some of the arguments that he's having here?
Yeah lah. So I mean, I think there is something worth thinking about because it's true lah. Because let's say you open up a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
You might be the chef, but once it reaches a point in time, you can extricate yourself lah. Right? So you don't need to be there, but it's still your restaurant. It's still your recipes and all. So why a hawker stall different?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a discussion worth having, right? He has highlighted something that seems to be, like the expectation is a bit unrealistic. And or at least quite not very empathetic of what hawkers, especially today's younger hawkers or anything, want to do with their lives, right? But like you say, I mean, this is all in the tenancy agreement, somewhat when he signed it, and whether he's signed for other outlets and everything. So it is part of the requirement, right? So you said that you think it's unfair for him to be complaining about it if he signed it knowing that it was part of the tenancy agreement, right?
I mean, like assuming that it's clear in the tenancy agreement, because at the end of the day, like hawkers, they do enjoy subsidized rent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just now when I gave the example of like, a restaurateur opens up a restaurant, they can extricate themselves. They don't even need to be physically present. But to open up a restaurant, you're not getting subsidized rent.
Yeah.
And everything you're doing is like market rate lah.
Yeah.
For hawker stalls, yes, a lot of things are market rate, but the rent generally is, especially NEA run hawker centers, they are subsidized lah, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're getting that, they've got more stricter terms.
Yeah.
Then it's like it's part and parcel lah.
Yeah, that's true lah. The original spirit of hawker centers were that they were built to, to take all the hawkers hawking the stuff on the streets and putting them in more centralized locations where hygiene and all these things could be better and taken care of lah, right? And they were built by the government, and to this day still managed by the government, right? So a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions on what you can or can't do with it. And there's an element of like making sure that they retain that original spirit, right? So I think what he is talking about becoming more effective, efficient, have SOP and systems and softwares. I think that's great, that as a F&B entrepreneur that they are doing this. But like what you said, the hawker centers. There's a reason that they are structured like that. There's a reason why the rent is lower than say a food court or going to MBS and all that. And there's a certain set of rules that you have to play by if you want to be be in a hawker center, right?
Yeah.
So in some ways they want to prevent people from gaming the system and all. So if these rules are there and you agree to do it, I do agree with you somewhat that the hawkers need to respect that as well, right?
Yeah.
And not, in some sense, again, I'm going back to his complaint where it's very emotive, right? He talks, I mean, besides the photo of his wife, he talks about how for the first 4 years we worked daily, tirelessly, 12 to 18 hours a day in the store. And now that, we are a bit in a better position in hiring stuff. I think we all respect the work and the hustle that goes behind a hawker store. But if you're talking about, setting out SOPs and processes to expand the business and grow it to a point where you're really, becoming like a big business already, right? Then I think you can, the arguments of like, life as a hawker and stuff like that, they fall a bit more flat, right?
True.
Yeah, people don't look at hawkers in that way. That's why initially when I first started talking was about, there's a whole spectrum of hawkers when you say right? And anyone, and talking to Face, I understand now is like, just because you're a hawker doesn't mean that you want the exact same kind of outcomes. And it's quite clear, I think he has a certain set of outcomes that he wants from being a hawker or running a hawker business, right? But then when when I first heard of this news article and I saw the post and all, it seemed to skew more towards like, running, it's almost like running a mom and pop store and being like clamped down on by NEA unfairly and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I felt there was a bit of a disconnect there between what they are as a business and what he's saying in his post.
And I mean, in in essence, I mean, at a higher level, it's almost destructive to the whole conversation between hawkers, what support they need, and how authorities are playing a role. Because in this case, if you don't dive deep, it really paints not the best picture of NEA.
Yeah.
But I just Google on the NEA website, so even before any contract is there, even if you want to tender, right?
Yeah.
Under eligibility, the 6th point is any existing licensee of any stall in any market food center owned by the NEA or HDB may be eligible to tender on the condition that if he is a successful tenderer, he shall still be required to be present at his existing stall to personally conduct or superintend the business. So she is the existing stall owner of this. So, I mean, it's in the eligibility.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing once you get the contract, once your tender is accepted, it probably goes into further detail.
Yeah.
But this was just a simple Google thing. I mean, at first I thought, maybe it's going to be buried somewhere in the details. So in this case, it's like, I don't know whether there's going to be any other developments on this, but it does feel like it's a bit unfair. And it also makes me think, like, for all the sympathy he's gotten online, when my wife was pregnant, right, we should have done a whole series of, like, her posing and then with the caption, SMRT, I forced my wife to do this and try and get some sympathy, but I never.
Yeah. I mean, good because I think, as I've gotten older and everything, I always feel like I don't like it when people complain on behalf of others or use other people's image or what to complain about something, right? I feel like it always has to come from the horse's mouth itself. Like if your wife is the one not happy about something, you can help her, but the complaint should come from her, right? That kind of thing. So now we know we have ChatGPT and everything. Very easy to craft, complaint letters and everything, right? So it's at everyone's fingertips to do this.
But that one also, like, the thing about if someone wants to complain, it should come from them. I think sometimes it's a bit easier said than done. Let's say if you have access, you have resources, you have a voice.
Yeah.
Then someone who might not have that access, then you have to speak up for them.
But in this case, I think they're both the business owners, right?
Correct. No, because you said as you got older,
sage. I understand what you're saying. Obviously, there's certain people who probably not as equipped to complain about things, like kids or people.
You tell your kid, if you're not happy, you go and tell your principal.
What I'm saying is every time when I see posts where someone is, taking a very picture of someone that makes them look very cham or complaining about how my life very cham or that, but actually it's someone else that kena the NEA letter and all that then I always take a step back and like, okay, what's the intention there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird.
Yeah. But I thought this was a really interesting Yalbat topic because of how emotive his post was. But also then when you read a little bit further into the spirit of the rule and everything and understanding why the rule is there, then it makes you think twice a little bit about how you are emotionally responding to the post also, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, I think he got a lot of sympathy.
But he also gets. I mean, there are people on the other side also, right? Yeah. Also calling it out, not calling him out, but calling it out as a business, right?
Yeah.
Like what exactly is why can't someone from the business be there to operate the stall, right?
Yeah, and doesn't need to be him or his wife, just an appointed nominee.
Yeah, and like you say, co-owners, thank you for that. I totally didn't think about that. I mean, interesting. Maybe, we'd love to get face-sized thoughts about this also.
Or anyone else, because we know that even recently, someone reached out to us who has run a hawker stall and wanted to chat more and all. So, I mean, at some point, maybe we might bring on another hawker, but it's always our Reddit to share your thoughts. And we always appreciate people from the industries that we talk about that share their thoughts.
And just talking about sharing your thoughts, what is your one Shiok comment?
So there's a comment on the latest podcast episode on Reddit by I guess a first time commenter, because I haven't seen this comment before. That is hermit underscore H underscore E underscore R blah. Disagree with Terence that it is end of term for the government and they have to spend the surpluses, thus the handouts. Over the years, they have been transferring surpluses to the reserve, and the so-called election budget has always been to sweeten the ground. Just that the huge increase in cost of living here, partly caused by their own policies, have made them give out greater handouts, hopefully to change the minds of undecided voters. We know those on both extreme ends aren't going to change their minds. It is overcompensating for the government that led to others saying you are government leaning. Would appreciate a more neutral POV from your side, which has been doing a good job thus far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emoji.
So, Terence,
Yes.
Any thoughts, any statements, any reflections?
Again, to quote the philosopher, very famous philosopher, Madonna, you only see what your eyes want to see, right? I think in a sense, you only hear what your eyes want to hear, because I think the point I was trying to make was that, the rule that government surpluses can't be carried on to the next government, right? So it completely makes sense, no matter which government is, a PAP government or Workers' Party government or whatever, it completely makes sense that they would want to do a very sweet election budget, right? Because at the end of the day, if not, the money just goes into the reserves, right? But if you have the leeway to actually do something and sweeten the budget to make people feel good about the government, I think anyone would, right? Whether you're PAP or whatever, anyone would do that. You'd be silly not to do that as part of your strategy, right? So that's what I was saying. I was pointing out that there literally is a law, there is a rule that you can't carry on the surpluses between government terms. And I was just trying to explain that it's trying to make sure that people don't think that it's just like, this year election, okay, let's just spend as much money as we want, right? I think there is a strategic reason to it, but also at the end of the day, it's a logistical thing also, right? Of course, you can put it into the reserves and everything, but if you are going to election soon, you wouldn't do that, right? It'd be kind of silly to do that also, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, in your defense, I also feel like this statement is almost ascribing too much, like 95% of the intention of the handouts being because it's an election year.
Yeah.
Because I think the other aspect of it is also real. And I think there are some like rubric or calculations that determine how much they put in the reserves as well. It's not just up to like, I think we should put this much amount. I think there is something that kind of governs that also.
Yeah.
And it's tied to GDP and like the surpluses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I mean, thank you, Terence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I mean, that's your one Shiok comment.
Yeah, that's my one Shiok comment. I'm guessing you were going to respond to it also.
Actually, it was my one Shiok comment.
Okay.
But it's okay. I did want to respond to it.
Yeah,
I did want to respond to it. I think of all things that people accuse me for being government leaning, I didn't think that was something that was needed to be called, as in this deserved to be called out.
Yeah.
I was literally just saying that, it's by law, this is what it is. Right? Yeah. Well, okay,
Overcompensating.
Oh, man. But yeah, since you took that one shot comment from me, my one shot comment is from the same episode on YouTube, where the Grace Hugh says, talking about, remember we talked about making figures of our political figures in Singapore, making toys of them, right? So Grace says, maybe someone should make a little toy of Lawrence Wong in the form of a superhero figure in full flight and wearing a cape made out of CDC vouchers flapping behind him. Because I think last episode we talked about Lawrence Wong wearing the Iron Man suit with the nuclear reactor and everything.
Yeah.
But this one is another interesting suggestion where Lawrence Wong just wears CDC vouchers on his back as a cape. It's quite funny.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe who knows if there's enough.
Cool.
We know people who can do this shit also, right?
But I don't know what the laws are around, like what you can do with the identity of a public figure. Unless, as long as you don't sell it, I guess.
Yeah. But if it's correct, I guess. If your personal collection and everything.
Yeah.
But if you could be sued for defamation, if like.
No, but we make him like, CDC voucher cape all like, them power,
But doesn't that, isn't, people can say that that's like making mockery of like the whole process of giving out CDC vouchers, as if like he's like Superman who, just doles out justice freely and all that.
What are the rules? Because it'd be so fun, no? Then his like weapon is like a guitar. It's like that, but he turns it over and it glows.
Yeah.
The guitar of the skies or something.
Yeah. Don't know. I don't know, but interesting lah. But I mean, I do feel that even if we wanted to make toys of Singaporean characters and all that, I wouldn't even default to making political figures first. I would think of other heroes in our lifetime and everything.
Like who?
I mean, a Stanford Raffles figure. I've never seen anything like that before, right? Or even Lee Kuan Yew. I mean, Lee Kuan Yew I've seen.
Limbo Singh.
Limbo Singh or Lieutenant Adnan and all that.
Tan Ho Liang.
Yeah. Hey, why you all Chinese people only when you say?
C. Kunalan.
Okay.
Sundramuthi.
Testing you. Fandi.
Fandi Ahmad.
Well, imagine we had like the dream team figures.
Wow, fucking
I would
solid,
keep that, man. I would keep that.
I'll totally keep that as well.
Yeah. But yeah.
Cool, man.
And what is your one Shiok thing?
My one shock thing is this movie, right, that I had no idea was even coming out until I recently heard it on some other news podcast. It is this movie Conclave.
Yes.
And I think it recently won like 4 BAFTAs. But basically, right, it is a movie about where the premise is the current pope has passed on.
Yeah.
And there is the new pope that needs to be elected. So it is about the story of how all the other priests of the Catholic Church come together and vote for the new pope. And apparently, like, it's full of the drama and politics that actually happened. And I believe it was written by Peter Strahan, which was based on a novel by Robert Harris. So it goes into the behind the scenes of what actually happens when a new pope is voted. Which, I mean, is a very kind of like secretive thing. Even last year when I went to Italy with my wife, we went to the Vatican, but you cannot go into the Vatican. So is this like this society that no one has a real idea and you can only peek into? So this goes straight, and the acting lineup is insane. Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow. And I was like, oh shit, this looks cool, man.
I mean, speaking of Pope, I hope he gets well from his pneumonia.
That's true, right? I mean, it's a bit eerie, that he just recently fell sick, and then this movie comes out, and it's about the voting of a new pope. So but as a premise, right? I'm like, oh shit. I don't know whether it's rubbed people the wrong way. I can imagine it pissing off a lot of people. But yeah, looks pretty interesting, Yeah, man.
Cool.
What about you?
Mine is a YouTube video that is titled Dark Gothic MAGA, How Tech Billionaires Plan to Destroy America. So it's a 30-minute video by the channel Blonde Politics. And it's got like 1.8 million views from 3 months ago. So it's basically a video that talks a little bit about, because I think a lot of people now, like myself, are kind of trying to wrap our heads around how the billionaires all so quickly coalesced around Trump, right? And sort of have thrown their weight behind him. And I'm not just talking about the obvious, the heads of the tech firms, but like when you listen to podcasts like All In and other kind of very tech or VC focused podcasts, they seem to be very, very into Trump, and to almost like a very quite concerning degree. Because I mean, if you really think about what Musk was at one point in time, he was like, he was meeting Obama. He was talking about electric vehicles, to save the world from climate change and all these things. He was, I think he said at one point he denounced Trump also, right? I can't remember exactly, but the point was like how did everything change so quickly, and especially for all these billionaires who they have no worries in the world in terms of like their immediate needs, right? Food or shelter or luxuries at all. Why is it that they all have suddenly just so swung so far right, or at least like so far in favor of Trump, right? So this video is interesting because it goes into a lot of the philosophy of what people like Peter Thiel and other tech billionaires in Silicon Valley believe, and they talk about how a lot of them are following figures like Curtis Yarvin and reading his books and his
and who's Curtis Yarvin?
So I think he's a thinker and someone who thinks a lot about technology and how it affects democracy and everything, right? So I can't remember exactly what, but there is the idea that I think Peter Thiel has talked about it, where democracy just doesn't work, and at the end of the day, humanity should be arranged in their own almost like tech feudalism, like your own little nations, right? Yeah.
The network state.
The network states, exactly. Sorry, I forgot what the term was. But you sort of subscribe to a certain kind of ideology or belief, and then you choose to go to that nation state, and then that network state has its own like army and its own food supply, whatever, to take care of itself, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of discussions of how a lot of billionaires have started to believe in that, and how every one of them, has sort of fallen in line in some ways, lah. And it's quite a interesting listen, even if you like Trump and you think that there's a lot of inefficiencies in America and all that. Maybe the question to ask is, why are all the billionaires so ready to jump on the Trump train, right?
So this is a roundtable discussion with a few.
No. It's not. It's like
she takes clips from.
She takes clips from everything she's. So I think that's interesting, because now a lot of content that people actually interface with is from podcasts and all, and you need to spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, listening to interviews, and hearing what people say, and then juxtaposing it with what others are saying, right? So she does that, I think, pretty well. And this video came out already. I think it probably came out before the election.
November 14.
Yeah. So she was already. It's not like she was responding to Trump's first month in office or what, right? She was already seeing how the billionaires were just gathering around Trump, and it was just an interesting, very interesting video.
And you know where the term dark Gothic MAGA comes from? Right?
Where?
Actually, Elon Musk said it at a Trump rally.
Oh, when he was wearing the black MAGA hat, right? Yeah.
He described himself as dark Gothic MAGA.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw it yesterday. He met the Argentinian leader who gave him a fucking chainsaw as a gift.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's cutting the fat of bureaucracy. Like, what the hell, man? Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, definitely gonna watch that. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So
what a week.
What a week, man. Remember, next Tuesday, 25th February at 9 p.m, we will be releasing the tickets for our next live show. Limited tickets, so make sure you get yours if you didn't get a chance to come the last time, or if you came and you loved it so much you want to come again.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow us and work with us, what should they do, Terrence?
ministryoffunny.com, or email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com.
Cool. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll talk to you all and potentially see you all soon.